Good afternoon. Welcome to the Municipality of West Elgin Council meeting, October 26th, 4 p.m. Start time is 4:06 here. So call the meeting to order. I'm calling the meeting to order at 4:06 p.m. Move for a second. No. And just to make a note, in addition to our agenda, item 12.7 to the agenda before adopting it. So number 2, adoption of the agenda, please.
That council hereby adopts the October 26, 2023 agenda as presented.
Moved by Councillor Denning, seconded by Councillor Statham. All in favor? And so it's passed. Disclosure of any pecuniary interest. Now we're at the time, seeing none. Go on with, we'll skip over number 4 for our delegation is not together yet. So we'll go ahead with our public meeting, number 5.
That council proceed into a public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act.
And mover and seconder for that. Councillor Novakis, Councillor Denning, and all in favor? That is carried. And I believe you have the floor, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Good afternoon to everyone. The application in this particular instance is located at 24377 Gray Line. This is a property located along the Lake Bluff on a very irregular shaped parcel. What's on the parcel right now is a small single dwelling or cottage that's located very close to the bluff and in somewhat imminent danger of going over the bank. Because of that, the cottage was lifted and brought forward on the lot temporarily just to get it out of harm's way. But in order to improve the situation, a zoning amendment is required on the property. Right now, it's lakeshore development. What the intention of this zoning is it essentially limits it to what's currently on any given property, whether it's vacant or occupied. Essentially, in order to review moving forward, primarily with the Conservation Authority, whether or not the property can either first be developed if it's vacant, or if there are existing dwellings or cottages on the property, if they can be safely relocated, even if only temporarily, to get them out of immediate harm's way. In this particular instance, the lot is in that zone, and in order to permanently relocate, temporarily permanently relocate the dwelling on the property, 2 things were required. First, a zoning amendment, and then secondly, a permit from the Conservation Authority to allow for the relocation. In this particular instance, the applicant has already obtained a permit from the Conservation Authority to relocate that dwelling, and that was attached as part of the report. It'll be essentially be moving it from just over 20 feet from the bank to 73 feet from the bank, which is about as far as it can be relocated on the property based on sort of its irregular shape. Reviewing this was, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but obviously provincial policy and our local OP are very mindful of any type of development along the lake, and first and foremost being able to meet the required setbacks along here, but at the same time wanting to be open to potential, at least temporarily, relocating these dwellings. What the Conservation Authority has done in this particular instance says, yes, you can relocate the existing cottage. It has to be put on helical piles, which are something that basically can be removed. It's not a concrete foundation. It's not a slab. These are essentially big screws that are put into the bank or put into the ground in order to support the dwelling. If the dwelling has to be moved again or demolished, those piles can be easily removed, and then you don't end up with a bunch of concrete debris going over the bank and into the lake. So there's not a concern with, causing some type of environmental damage or just making the lake bank look unsightly with waste. Essentially, doing this does effectively, if we were trying to do this initially, or this was new development, it would be a no. It doesn't comply with PPS in the sense that it doesn't maintain the proper setbacks. But again, because this is improving the situation, it is maintaining, it does recognize the hazard. So in my professional opinion, I believe it still maintains the spirit of provincial policy by allowing the applicant to remove it, and the conservation authority's taken steps to outline only that cottage gets relocated, and limiting where it goes, what can be done, and the type of foundation it's located on. Both the county and our local official plan echo many of the same things. So unless there's questions from council, the proposal simply is to rezone the property to permit the relocation of the existing cottage with the construction of a porch on it as well. And this will all be based on the requirements of the permit that the applicant has already submitted or has already received from the Conservation Authority. That's all I have, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you for that. I see that Mayor Leatham has a question. Go ahead. You're muted. Richard, you're muted. You're going to have to start again.
Can you hear now?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, I was on the executive committee when this came forward, and I know we looked at it very, very thoroughly, and with the shape of the lot and with the drive-in piles, this is the best possible solution you could get with that building. Otherwise, there would be no building there. And I think they're safeguarding it as best they possibly could. So I think they did their best they could under the circumstances. And I personally think it's safe.
Sorry. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. Then we'll move to the recommendation, please.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Robert Brown, planner, regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D14 20-2023 at 24377 Gray Line. Recommendation report, planning report 2023-48, and that West Elgin Council approve the rezoning of 24377 Gray Line from Lakeshore Development LD zone to Lakeshore Development Special Regulation 1 LD-1 zone, in accordance with the attached draft bylaw, and that West Elgin Council consider the bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw as presented in the bylaw portion of the October 26, 2023 council agenda.
With that recommendation read, do I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Navakis, Councilor Statham, all in favor? And that is carried. So we'll move on to 5.2, adjournment of the public meeting.
That council hereby adjourn the public meeting pursuant to the Planning Act.
A mover and a seconder. Councilor Navakis, Councilor Statham, all in favor? So carried. Moving on to number 6, adoption of the minutes. Sorry, go ahead.
We have our delegation here now. I
Okay,
believe they're ready to go.
Okay, just a moment then. We'll let them file in. Okay, so we're going back to number 4 on our agenda for delegations, 4.1, the Calvary United Church in Rodney, and the topic is advertising on electronic sign.
I'm in business. Thanks, Lee. Hello,
When you-
Richard.
When you approach the podium, if you just state your name, that would be
Okay.
great.
Hello. Good to see you. I'm Steve Speller. I'm with the Calvary United Church. And so I believe you've all seen the letter that we'd sent requesting that we are able to do a bit of I guess advertising as such on the community sign. One of my other hats I wear is with the Elgin County Plowmen's Association, and you folks were kind enough to put our event that we had back in the second Saturday of September, and I know maybe you folks realize how much coverage or how much notification into the community you get with that sign, but we had one of the best crowds we've had in a number of years at our local plowing match. And 2 or 3 people mentioned to me, said, "Oh yeah, I didn't know what was going on. We saw it on the sign in West Lorna and Rodney." So it's certainly getting a lot of information out to the community, which is great. So what we're basically looking at is 3 times during the year. One is our Christmas Eve service that we have. And in talking, probably half of the people that show up at our Christmas Eve service currently are members of the congregation. The other half are other folks from the community, and of various faiths and backgrounds and so on, which is good. The other time we want to do this is during the Vacation Bible School, and this past year there was about 80% of the kids that showed up. It's a free week for children to come, and 80% of the kids that showed up were not members of our congregation either. So it was a community thing that went very well. And also for our Easter services, Good Friday and Easter. So we're basically looking at making sure the notification is out there that we're not trying to sell anything, or we're not trying to trick people into coming or anything like that. It's simply just notification. And I think a lot of people are perhaps not reading our local paper. It kind of gets used in the into the recycle bin immediately, or it's not getting the information out. So I think you have a very powerful tool there, and I think we're simply looking at doing that. And I think you've read the letter, but we're also using our church for many other things. Many community groups are using it. So first of all, the caring cupboard, and it's got a large portion of our basement, and it's getting used twice a week. We have it open, and more as necessary. We've also had a lot of service clubs use it. Quad County Support Services is starting to use our hall now. Other things like anniversaries, birthdays, piano recitals. I also teach a pesticide course, so a couple of retailers have rented it for the day to invite customers to come and take the pesticide course. So there's a lot of different uses. So I guess that's our request, that we're able to use it or utilize it those 3 times, and I guess open it up if you have questions for myself or anyone else.
Thank you, Mr. Speller. Council, have any questions for Mr. Speller or anybody from the delegation? Go ahead, Councilor Denning.
Thank you so much, and through the chair, thank you to the members of Calvary United Church for taking the time to be here this afternoon to essentially provide your perspective on this sign policy that the municipality has in place. As I'm sure you have read through it, the exemption from publicizing community events on the sign encompasses religious and political events. And I think that the spirit of why that was created that way was to prevent additional work and additional risk in having staff and management have to differentiate what's appropriate and what's not. And I also recognize that in a small community like this, that does seem perhaps like semantics, because we have church communities in West Elgin that are nothing but fantastic and wonderful in serving the community. But that may not always be the case. There are unfortunately issues that are divisive. And I think, again, that was why it was left very clear that religious affiliated organizations will not be able to use the sign. That being said, there is also a line in there that suggests that religious organizations such as Calvary United Church, if they are fundraising, such as the Caring Cupboard and raising money for community events, that is permitted. So I guess all I'm doing is offering a little bit of hopefully clarification on why I believe the municipality had created a sign with such specific parameters. That's all I have to say on that.
Thank you for that. Anyone else from council or anything? Have anything to say? Councilor Bacchus?
Well, and I had said it to Ruth as well. I had read the policy and I think it's apropos, but we can even look at, I believe the Girl Guides this year are not participating in the Santa Claus parade because they are looking at secular groups joining. And so I think calling around to other municipalities in our community, a lot of our members go to your church, but our community is changing. And by leaving religion off of screens, we are maintaining a diverse community. Many whom are maybe moving here aren't Catholic, Christian. We open up ourselves to having these conversations with many groups if we decide not to follow our policy, because you guys are such wonderful people, because then other groups come and say, well, we're also wonderful. And then we as council have to decide and be the judges of something. And that's why policies are in place so that we don't have to pick and choose and then face the wrath of community groups who are like, but why not me? And so I think Bill is correct that the ability to post when you're fundraising is that kind of way that you guys can be sliding in. But I think that advertising the camp and your evenings is going to open us up as council to other people possibly coming forward and asking us things that we may not agree with. But if I've said this to you, then I have to say yes to them.
Right.
Councilor Statham?
Thank you. And through the chair, I just had a question. How many other requests by religious affiliations have we received to, is this something that happens often?
To date, I recall maybe 2 or 3. I was part of the combining all the information for this policy. It's a fairly new policy to our municipality, as it was developed in the winter of this year in February. And basically before we passed this policy, we checked with other municipalities to see what they have. We did some research on what we should promote on our electronic signs. And at that time, number one, it was pretty much every municipality had in their policy that they want to be politically neutral. We don't want any affiliation with political parties or religions. Another, when we did investigation, we don't want to promote visual clutter. Even though our electronic signs have a limited number of slides, we can put as many as we want. Nobody's gonna stand there in front of the sign and wait until, you know, the information about something comes in. We allowed between 5 to 10 seconds per slide. It depends on how much information is included on the slide. The problem is if there's too much information, and some of the signs, I don't know if you're aware, but we have been receiving complaints from people living near the sign. It bothers them, the light. So, you know, we have to kind of address the issue with the light pollution as well. So at this moment, we are turning off signs at 10 p.m. and turning them back on, I believe, at 6 a.m. So another issue that we addressed was public safety. If you have too much information, too much flash, it distracts drivers as well. So, you know, all those things taken into consideration, that's how we develop this policy. I mean, as I said, this is fairly new policy. If council wishes to add or perhaps remove certain things, we can certainly do more investigation on it, but you know, we're not discouraging or you know, you're more than welcome to do things in our community. And you mentioned in your letter, Vacation Bible School. As you know, a lot of churches run Vacation Bible School during summer. It's impossible for us to, you know, advertise for all of them. So hopefully your community, your congregation understands, you know, the issues that we're facing as well. And as we are the ones that are getting complaints from the public, so we just have to kind of promote advertising, promote events, but be respectful to the rest of the community.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question. To advertise in our municipal calendar, I guess is the wording. What's our policy on that? If they wanted to submit an event like a church supper or even the Vacation Bible School, what's our policy in them
There
submitting
is
for that?
no policy.
So they're welcome to submit with them. We can send them.
Absolutely,
I could
yes.
send them the link. Okay. We have an online calendar. You're probably familiar with it and it goes out to everybody. Or people can just go on there and look and see what events are there. But you have to have an account, I believe, and set up to put those in there. Is that correct? Okay. Just want to make sure I was correct. Yeah, the word for subscribe. Didn't appear? Okay. I had someone else tell me that earlier about their VON exercise didn't appear. Okay, well, we'll look into that too, if we can put that. I see that Mayor Leatham also has a question, so you have the floor, Mayor Leatham. Go
And
ahead.
through the chair, I'd just like to say, religion aside, I'd like to thank them for what they do for our community. Because I know with the caring cupboard and all the other things that they do it not all for religion, they do it for the community. And for that, I'd like to thank them.
Thank you, Richard.
Exactly. So, yeah, all our churches make up our community feel and for all our religious affiliations. So I see that Wendy also has a question. Did you want to approach the, if you can approach the podium though, Wendy, and just state your name, that'd be great.
I'm Wendy. Bill, you mentioned something about if it's a fundraiser, we're allowed to put something on the sign. Am I understanding you correctly? So like say before COVID, we had soup and what were they called? Poor boy lunch. Soup and sandwich lunches. And we'd go out to all the different municipal offices and everywhere else and see and advertise that. So if it's a like candle lighting for Christmas Eve and Easter vacation, those are not fundraisers. But you're saying any of the fundraisers we are allowed to? That's
Councilor Denny, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair, and thank you, Wendy. So what it says here is political organizations and religious affiliations are excluded from being able to post on the signs. However, schools, churches, and other organizations shall only be permitted to post information about fundraising activities. So a ceremony of a spiritual nature, no.
No.
However, a fundraising dinner, I would say yes.
Interesting. Thanks. I just wanted to clarify
Sure.
that. Thank you.
Mr. Spiller, go ahead.
So we take up collection every Sunday. That's fundraising, Mr. Bill. No, I'm just.
Good one.
Richard's smiling at it too. That's good. All right. I think,
Yeah, approach the podium and just state your name.
Mark Speller. So just, can you give me an example of some organization that you are worried this will open a can of worms? Like what kind of organizations are applying to put advertising on the sign that because you allow us to, you'll need to allow them to?
Through the chair, I think it's just the possibilities. And so I've used this example before. I made a tremendous mistake when I was managing a large public space and I let a politician come in and hand out flyers at a very busy Saturday market. I then had what was basically the Nazi party ask for the same ability to do that. And it is on municipal land. It was the City of London, and they made it pretty far, taking us to court. So no, I don't think right now that anyone has come up and asked us to do things, but policies are often in place because we're looking at the future. And so it is also for things like religion and politics that not everyone in our community may agree. And so we are not putting any on. So for those people who are Muslim, who don't want to be advertised about a church, we're just looking at the future, and this is what policies are in place, maybe not for what's happened now, but what we think could happen in the future.
All right, I will just state that I think it's somewhat divisive and non-inclusive to not allow us to, when you allow all the other community organizations to do so.
But I think Meg does also said the point that then we have to offer that exact, if we are going to allow you to advertise your camp, then we have to reach out to every camp and tell them that they can then also put it on. Or if they reach out to us, we have to say yes. So then what we do is we have every.
Yeah, and you said a lot. I can't count that many who had Vacation Bible Schools. I count 3. 2 in West Lauren and us. But anyway, that's just my feeling.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Could I just say-
Yep, Ruth, come to the podium.
I'm Ruth Karn. I just think then, if you're going to have a policy that allows churches to fundraise, you're opening the same can of worms. So you might want to remove that from your policy. Because if you're going to let us put on about fundraising, then you're opening the door to the Nazi party coming and saying you let the Christian church. And I'm thinking if we're going to get that final line, then we can use it the other way too. And I think we're kind of focusing on Vacation Bible School, and this started with the Christmas Eve service, which is most definitely, it is Christian. I mean, it totally is, but it most definitely, we have had Hindu people at our Christmas Eve service. I would be more than welcome if a Muslim member wanted to do a service in Rodney. I think they should be allowed to be put on the sign. To me, this is inclusivity, is letting all those things be on the sign. So if we can't do Vacation Bible School, that's fine. Because I do recognize, I think there were 2 in West Elgin, but we are the only church in Rodney that does a Christmas Eve service. To me, that's a pretty big thing that you want to have people be aware of. But that's just my opinion. But anyway, thank you.
Councilor Navakis?
Oh, I'm more than willing to look again at these policies, but I did do some initial research at municipalities around us and municipalities near us, and almost everyone has put this clause on. And I'm wondering if there is also a reason why they've put it on, and whether liability, there's a reason why everyone has used very similar wording on their policy. So.
Something else you want to say?
Oh.
Magda, go ahead. Sorry.
Through the chair, so I completely understand. Christmas Eve service is once a year, and perhaps your church is the only church in the area that offers that service. But from our point of view, if another congregation comes to us and say, well, why don't you post our Sunday worship hours on your electronic signs, then another congregation comes and say, well, can we post our bulletin on our electronic sign? So where do you draw the line? Where do you draw the line?
This is once a year.
So I guess maybe hopefully we've gotten our message to everyone that we are looking again at 2 or 3 very specific times of the year that we would like to have our message on the sign. And hopefully you will give it some thought and consideration, and we'd be welcome to discuss further if there's any questions or anything else. But I think otherwise, thank you for hearing us today, and our apologies for being a few moments late today, but thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
all right.
we've all done that. It's okay.
Well, we'll be honest. We thought you were still over in Rodney having your meetings, so you should add that little sentence on the bottom, the meeting in your minutes, because I do read them when they do come out, and I went, I've never read that they were happening here in West Lawrence.
Yeah, they've been here for a few years, but
Yeah.
that's okay. Everyone makes that mistake once in a while.
All
Like
right.
we get that every once
All
in a
right.
while, but we have other business we can move on
Yep.
to. But
Thank
once
you so
again,
much.
to echo council and what people have said here, thank you and all of our congregations in the community of every faith for everything you do for our community. It's absolutely just amazing what you put out, what you say, and your message in any form to all of us. So thank you again for coming.
And you will let us know your decision.
Correct. Yeah. As an aside, there's an Elgin County grant. If you wanted to pump up the sign you already have outside, you could apply and see if maybe you could pump up your sign that you already have outside. It says I'm thinking outside the box. I could send that link to you if you like. So everyone's nodding and saying that sounds great. So I do know you get a lot of traffic down that road there when people try to avoid Furnival for different reasons when it's busy. So that could be a different alternative to look at if the decision here is not your way. So thanks once again. Okay, any further discussion from our delegation at all? The delegation we just had is what I'm trying to say, sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Denny.
So I suppose then as a council, we need to decide if this is something right now that we are fine with this policy as it is, or if we want to push this back to management to do further research. Is that correct?
Other thoughts? What are you thinking? Do you want to relook at the policy or do you want to just look at this one instance? Magda, you have the floor.
Through the chair, this policy was established not that long time ago,
Yeah.
and staff did a lot of research on this. What I would say, every municipality is different, every community is different. What I would suggest perhaps, and if council agrees with me, we could perhaps run it as a pilot project for a certain period of time, allow a celebration or once a year, that happen once a year, and see how it goes if the interest is increasing, or just decline the request.
Councilor Statham, yeah.
Through the chair, if I read the policy correctly, there's a section here that says the municipality has sole discretion to determine the information to be posted on the sign. Is that correct? So
Yes.
we could address this on a case by case basis if we really needed to. My feeling about that is during Christmas time, if I don't necessarily have a problem with that. Some of the other events, maybe we exercise our discretion, to dictate what gets posted.
Mhm.
I just wanted to be clear about how that policy was worded. So if we have sole discretion, it would be possible for us to say yes to one group and no to another.
Mhm.
It becomes very difficult and convoluted, and I understand that. But I just want to be clear on that point.
This kind of reminds me, we have a fireworks policy. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I found a family going from store to store in West Lorne and in Rodney looking for sparklers because they were going to respect our fireworks policy during Diwali to not have fireworks. So they're just looking for sparklers in their backyard for their family to celebrate their religious celebration. And so I brought it forward and now it's added to our policy that Diwali's, but we were going to do it case by case. But at the time we all felt, well, we need to be inclusive. And this is just one extra, although it changes dates every year as per their calendar, but it just reminds us, we were going to do case by case, but then we decided to change the policy. But since this policy has had so much time put into it just recently, like what's that, 9 months ago. When we've looked at it, then we need to think about that as well. Counselor Navakis?
I think like Christmas dinners, we should stay out of politics and religion. And I know that we're in the business of politics, but the face of Canada and the face of our community are changing, and we have a policy, and I believe it's well researched, and it states no religious or political. And I feel that that is the best way for us to move forward. I think all of these lovely community members, they do so much. I see them all the time. I do enjoy them dearly. And if a policy is a policy and there's a reason, and I think keeping religion and politics off of our signs is incredibly important.
So when we have, say, the next elections and we have a debate, is that on our sign? It has been in the past before we had this policy. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like, we had it at the Legion. We had a debate years before that. We had it at the Elgin International Club. It's always been advertised. So. You use your microphone.
That would be considered a municipal event, would it not? And
I think Mrs. Karn would probably say it's a fine line, because if she was still here, because yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just asking, just playing devil's advocate. I'm not sure. Councillor Denning?
Through the chair, thank you. The way I interpreted it is just that is an intermunicipal affair.
Okay.
And staying out of politics means not leaning towards one side or another, whether that's provincially or federally. I think that was the spirit and the intention of this policy. I like the fact that thus far throughout this term, our council has been very proactive and not reactive. And we are faced right now with a decision on whether or not to maintain the proactive policy that was thoughtful and protective of this community and protective of the staff from having to have more awkward conversations than necessary, or we can be reactive and we can go backwards. But I do believe that we have a policy in front of us here, as difficult as it is for some specific groups to appreciate, because they want to get their message about their good work out. This is a policy that mitigates a significant amount of risk that we are seeing has been a problem in other communities, larger and smaller. And I like to think that we will continue to be proactive with the creation of our policy. So I am very, very comfortable not only supporting the policy as it stands, I'm also very, very comfortable sitting with the folks of Calvary United Church, of which I am a member, and explaining why I feel that this policy protects us all, as opposed to just providing a service for one specific group, despite the fact that that specific group does a lot of great work in our community. A lot of that great work that they do, by the way, in the community is non-religious, and they are certainly allowed to use our sign to promote the Caring Cupboard and other fundraising events that they may choose to have. So again, for what it's worth, from my perspective, I'm very comfortable with it as it is.
Okay, go ahead, clerk.
The recommendation is that council receive the delegation from the Calvary United Church, Rodney, and that council decline the request for advertising, remaining consistent with the electronic sign policy.
I'm moving to seconder on that. Moved by Councillor Navakis, seconded by Councillor Denning. All in favor? And that is so moved. Yeah, move over to number 6 on our agenda, adoption of the minutes.
That council hereby adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting on October 12th, 2023, and the special council meeting on October 16th, 2023, as circulated and printed.
I'll move it in seconder for that recommendation. Councillor Statham, Councillor Denning, and all in favor? And that is so carried. Number 7, any business arising from those minutes? Anyone have anything they'd like to have from those minutes? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Anything that anyone would like to pull out from that consent agenda? Councillor Navakis?
I'd like to pull out 8.1.1. I just had a question about the notice of decision on our planning act, and then 8.2.4.
You want a question looked at now, or what are you looking at?
Well, it's just that we have been approved for official plan amendment. Yeah,
It's still on, Robert.
Robert, are you still? It's like Beetlejuice, maybe I'll say his name 3 times. Robert? There you go.
So I'm still here.
Oh,
If
you're
it was
having dinner.
Halloween,
You're
I'd dress up
smart.
as Beetlejuice.
I know, it'd be interesting. Okay, so she's, Counselor Backus is looking at 8.1.2, correct?
yeah, just through the chair, Robert, they've approved the official plan amendment number 4.
Through the chair, correct. That was for 12450 Furnival, the old school property just outside of just north of Rodney.
What? So part
that
of
was
it
for
just,
the,
Mike,
yeah, go ahead.
have they looked at our other official plan that we've put in?
Good question. I have not heard anything back. They do have all the material that they need, but I haven't followed up with Paul Hicks yet.
Sorry,
on that.
I just got excited seeing this and I thought, well, maybe they're moving along. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Anything else any other council members looking at from that consent agenda? Seeing none, then we can move along to staff reports. That's, oh, sorry, go ahead. Jumping along.
That council hereby receive the consent agenda for October 26, 2023.
Mover to seconder for that, Counselor Backus, Counselor Denning, all in favor? And that is so carried. So number 9, staff reports, so 9.1 municipal drains.
So this report was brought to council regarding a section 78 notice of request for drain major improvement. I have spoke with the drainage superintendent who advised that this is a necessary project. We have received so far 3 requests for the improvement on this drain. If there's any questions or concerns at all?
Anything from council at this time? Counselor Denning?
Thank you, through the chair. Is this one of those drains that then crosses over into Dunwich?
I do believe so, but I can confirm that with the drainage superintendent and get back to you on that.
Okay. And the only reason I ask is, and then of course the answer is probably obvious, but if it is one of those situations, there's a sharing of costs on both sides of the road.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll go ahead with the recommendation, clerk.
That council hereby receives the section 78 notice of request for drain major improvement, and that council approve the request for the improvement of the government number 1 drain north received October 10th, 2023, submitted by 1 Antonius and Petronella Veldman, 2 Brian McGill from Brian McGill Farms Limited, and 3 David Boyd. And that council directs staff to forward to Spreets and Associate to proceed with the necessary actions pursuant to the Drainage Act.
Thank you for that. And I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Counselor Denning, Counselor Backus, all in favor? That is so moved. 9.2 operations and community services, the September monthly report. Anyone have any questions or comments on that? Not seeing any. Go ahead, the recommendation.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Lee Gosnell, Manager of Operations and Community Services, for information purposes.
And a mover and seconder for that recommendation, please. Counselor Statham, Counselor Backus, and all in favor? That is so moved. 9.2 clerks, 9.3.1 frivolous, vexatious, and unreasonable complaints policy.
Okay, thank you. So I brought this report and policy forward to you today. I was recently on a 4-day municipal clerks training program, and one of the instructors that we had, very well known, 30 plus years retired as a municipal clerk, registered parliamentarian. She had brought up this policy and indicated that every municipality should have it. It certainly sparked a lot of conversation regarding it because I was unfamiliar with exactly what it is. Since I have looked into it, I have looked and there is many municipalities that do have this very, very similar policy in place. What it is meant to do is simply filter some requests that may come through the municipality that, and maybe somebody just seeking information they're not entitled to, somebody looking to just create some additional added frustration, disturbance within municipal staff. So how this would go about, and as it's outlined in the policy, there would be a chain of command. Of course, it starts with the employee who would bring it to their direct supervisor. While this is not meant to go against freedom of information, those are still, of course, every municipality has those rights. What this is for management supervisors to look at, is there a pattern of behavior? Is there a pattern of conduct? Has the request been made in bad faith? Is it set to interfere with operations of the municipality? Is any of these requests specifically to shame or embarrass employees? And also, since I've submitted the agenda, I did actually have a conversation with Mr. Brown as well, who has also asked that we possibly include any contracted employees. So our planner, drainage, Spreets and Associates, anything like that, so that this policy would be in effect for any of those people working for us as well. Does council have any questions or concerns at all?
It's a very comprehensive policy. Looked over it several times and yeah, very interesting. And I hear a lot of staff time and different things. It's great that people come forward and have questions, but then when it's relentless over and over again, that could be exhausting. Any questions from council at all? Councilor Vakis?
So through the chair, Terry, if you go in and I think including everyone who would you have to bring this back to us then again if you put them on there?
Through the chair, yes, I would. So this right now is just a draft. It's in draft format. So I am open to any further suggestions. Though, as I said, the only one that I have received so far was from Mr. Brown, which I think is very valid and very important to include everybody that could be affected by this policy. So I will, if council is to approve the draft policy tonight, I will certainly bring it back in a final format with those additions to it.
Through the chair, I will be using some of this with my 13-year-old.
Interesting comment. Thank you. Mayor Lethem, was that you that were looking for a comment there?
No, I wasn't.
Okay,
But I'm
wasn't sure.
listening.
All right, you were leading in, so I wasn't sure. Councilor Denny?
Oh,
Thank you, through the chair. Madam Clerk, just one question in the exclusions. Policy applies to all requests and complaints made by members of the public unless, and this is just my question, where a meeting is covered under the procedural bylaw, the procedures established under that bylaw take precedence over this policy. So can you give me an example of what?
So it's always going to refer, the procedural bylaw is the Bible when it comes to council. So any requests that are specific to that, it will be directed to the procedural bylaw first and foremost before going through any of this process.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions from council? Seeing none, can we have the recommendation if you so please?
That council hereby receives the report from Terry Toshchuk, clerk, regarding the frivolous and vexatious request policy, and that council directs staff to prepare the finalized frivolous and vexatious request policy to be reviewed by the Elgin County Director of Legislative Services and brought back to council for final approval at a future regular meeting of council.
Any mover and seconder on that recommendation? Councilor Statham, Councilor Denning, all in favor? That's so moved. Move on to 9.4 Finance Administration, and it's 9.4.1, the electric vehicle charge on program. Magda?
Thank you. So, this is, this was brought to my attention last week. We're always, staff is always looking for grants for our municipality. And this was brought to my attention. There is a grant available for electric vehicle charge on program. I know there is need, especially in West Lone. We have one charging station in Rodney, we're missing one in West Lawn. Great opportunity. Grant covers up to 75% of total construction cost and equipment cost. The reason why I brought to council's attention is as it will affect 2024 capital budget. If there is, I just want to know if there is any appetite for electric charging station in our community, specific to in West Lawn. If council is open to that opportunity, we can certainly bring back report. Basically providing council with potential areas where we could set up a charging station, cost estimates, and perhaps do a quick survey with our community. See where how much of how many people would be in favor of that, in support of that kind of project. This definitely goes with in line with council's priorities. We're investing in growth, and this is one project that can that is basically what's the word?
Aiming toward that.
Complementing the growth.
Yeah, thank you for that, Madam CAO. I see the one in the village of Rodney is used a lot, and then I see in West Lawn an extension cord to a gentleman's vehicle as he charges it. So I would say this is extremely timely after seeing that about a month ago. So any questions from council? Councilor Salem?
Yeah, through the chair. I think this is overdue. Like you said, I was going to mention that as well. And I see a vehicle parked right over here across the road with an extension cord. So I personally support this wholeheartedly. I think it's a great idea. Most vehicles in Ontario are going to be electric vehicles in the next few decades. So, it's something that we definitely should get after.
Thank you for that comment. Councilor Backus, you have the floor.
Through the chair, the one in Rodney, Elgin County helped put that one in. Is that correct?
Yes, Elgin County applied for a grant. I think that grant covered, it was, do you remember how many charging stations they applied for? Because there was 3 or 4 municipalities. 20.
Yeah, through the chair, I believe it was 20, 18 or 20 charging stations, and those would be distributed throughout the county.
And when is Graham slated with the county for an upgrade?
Graham Road?
Main Street.
Main Street, sorry.
Main. Yep.
It's late for Michelle.
20.
Currently, Main Street is on, I believe it's 2027 or 2028 would be the reconstruction. That it's in their 10-year capital forecast.
So a little bit longer than, perfect, thank you.
Okay. Mayor Leatham, you had your hand up.
Yes, I did. And I think, when these grants are going, you have to strike while the iron's hot. Because, it may not always be. So we should take advantage of some of the grant money anyway, to at least, accommodate our electric drivers in our towns and villages. Thank you.
Sounds like we had in the budget to write a full-time grant writer. We could have a full-time grant writer. Any other questions from council? Go ahead, Councilor Denny.
Thank you. And through the chair, I would absolutely say that we it's worthwhile time applying for this. However, it's probably worthwhile to use this as an excuse to remind the county how badly we would like our Main Street redone, and if there was any way that they could move that up from 2027 so that we could accommodate the installation of a car charger without having to dig into our sidewalks twice. If that's the excuse that they need to move it to the top of the list, I would certainly be prepared to start sending a letter writing campaign to them to remind them on a weekly basis that we should be first in the county to get our road done.
They're much needed. Thank you for that, Councilor Denny. Seeing nothing else, go ahead, clerk.
That West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from M. Badura, CAO Treasurer, regarding electric vehicle charge ON program for information only, and that West Elgin Council provide a directive to move forward with the application process and ensure its timely submission by the prescribed deadline of January 31st, 2024.
Looking for a mover and seconder for the recommendation. Councilor Denning, Councilor Statham, all in favor? That is so moved. Number 10, committee and board correspondence. Anyone have any questions on that correspondence? No, not seeing any. We'll go ahead with the recommendation when you're ready.
That council hereby receives the committee and board correspondence as information only.
And mover and seconder, please. Councilor Navakis, Councilor Statham, all in favor? That is so carried. 10.1, oh, well, we already did that, sorry. Moving along here. Number 11, accounts. Everyone's had a chance to look over those. We got them nice and early, as always, on the ball, and not seeing any questions for those, so move on with the recommendation.
That the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 10A amounting to $207,289.85 in settlement of general, road, water, and arena accounts, including EFT number 7285 to 7375, online payments number 1253 to 1261, check number 26309 to 26320, and payroll pay period 21.
Moving and seconder. Councilor Navakis, Councilor Denning, all in favor? So carried. Number 12, correspondence and consideration of items requiring discussion. 12.1, 2024 Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding. You have any questions on that? Councilor Navakis?
Through the chair, just because we all read it, I'm hoping that we can all take note that while we did receive $2,300 more this year than last year, and I just can't wait to see where we're going to spend that amazing amount of money. We, well, 1.9 million in 2018 is what this municipality received, and now we're down to 1.8 million. If you factor in inflation, this means that we have basically been cut $251,000. And as we are facing infrastructure and higher costs, I hope that our community is aware that less and less funding from our provincial partners makes it very difficult for us to do our job at tax time and bring the services that people need.
Any other comments from council? Seeing none, we'll go ahead with the recommendation.
That council acknowledge receipt of the 2024 Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding correspondence.
Move under seconder. Statham. Mayor Leatham. All in favor? So carried. 12.2 Legion requests for Remembrance Day. I was thinking about this last week. I'm like, what's happened for Remembrance Day? Now I know. Any questions on that request? Any comments? Nope, not seeing any, so we'll go ahead with the recommendation when you're ready.
That council acknowledge receipt of the request for support from the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 221, West Elgin, and that council approve a donation of $50 for the cost of the Remembrance Day wreath, and that a member of council be a representative to be in attendance to present the wreath on behalf of the municipality of West Elgin. And that council approve supplying the sound system and seating for the Remembrance Day ceremonies on November 5th at 1:00 p.m. Rodney Library, and November 11th at 11 a.m. West Elgin Arena Cenotaph.
Mover and seconder for that. Councilor Denning, Councilor Statham. All in favor? So carried. 12.3 letter of support County of Elgin Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. Any discussion on that? Nope, seeing none.
That Council of the Municipality of West Elgin support the County of Elgin's grant application to the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario to support the development and implementation of an investment attraction strategy, and that council directs staff to prepare the letter of support and forward to the County of Elgin.
Thank you for that. And looking for a mover and a seconder. Counselor Denning. Tatham. All in favor? That's carried. 12.4, a verbal update from our clerk regarding, is it Trumpia software? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Okay.
Thank you, through the chair. So we've, after a couple phone calls to Trumpia to figure out what was going on with our account, it is now ready to go. That was as of last week. So we chose November 1st as a rollout date just to keep a simple number. So I think Jen and I on Monday are going to set up a little test one and use our own numbers and send out a test. So we're going to make sure that it is try to work out some of the bugs before we roll it out to the entire municipality. So
Super exciting.
it is very exciting. Very exciting. Any questions at all?
Counselor Denning.
I hope it goes great, and I'm sure it will. But having been through this multiple times, when you are ready for the part that impacts the public, I would, as opposed to sending out a notice afterwards, if there is an issue, perhaps sending out a notice ahead of time that some maintenance will be taking place. Might be a good preventative jar of medicine.
Absolutely.
Seeing no other comments, move the recommendation, please, when you're ready.
That council hereby accept the verbal update regarding Trumpia software as information only.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Navakis, Counselor Statham, all in favor? That is so moved. 12.5, Four Counties Transit Committee 2024 budget. Any questions on that? Everyone's read it over, obviously. We're hearing something alarming in the background. Clerk, when you're ready.
Sure. That council hereby acknowledge receipt of the Four Counties Transit Committee 2024 budget.
Moving to seconder. Statham, Counselor Vakis, and looking for all in favor. And that is carried. 12.6, Tri-County Water Board 2024 budget. We had long discussions about this. So everyone's probably read it all over and fine tooth comb. Any questions on that at this time? No. Okay. Recommendation, please.
That council hereby acknowledge receipt of the Tri-County Water Board 2024 budget.
Moved and seconded, please. Counselor Vakis, Counselor Denning. And a vote on that? All in favor? That is carried. 12.7, moving on to the Optimist Club of West Lorne, fee waiver for October 29th, 2023. I believe this is their Halloween party that they're having at Miller Park Pavilion. Any questions about that? No, seeing none.
Okay. That council approve the request received October 26, 2023 from the Optimist Club of West Lorne to waive the Miller Park Pavilion fee for Sunday, October 29th, 2023 for the Halloween party, referencing facility contract 661 for a total of $76.84.
Can I have someone move and second that recommendation, please? Counselor Vakis, Counselor Statham, all in favor? That is carried. Number 13 on our agenda is council inquiries or announcements. Any statements or inquiries by councilors at this time? Not seeing any matters of urgency. 13.2. Everything's copacetic. All good. We'll move on to number 14 for our bylaws. Clerk.
So bylaw 2023-95 is D 1420-2023 for 24377 Gray Line. That bylaw 2023-95 being a bylaw to amend the Municipality of West Elgin Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw number 2015-36 for lands on 24377 Gray Line be read a first and second and third and final time.
A mover and a seconder. Mayor Leatham. Statham, and all in favor. So carried. We're gonna move on to our closed session, so recommendation.
That council hereby proceeds into a closed session at 5:10 PM to discuss matters in accordance with section 239(2)B, being personal matters about identifiable individuals, including municipal or local board employees.
Mover and a seconder. Counselor Denning. Counselor Navakis. All in favor? So carried. So we'll be returning to our meeting via recording of Zoom, like recording, I guess,
Yes.
afterwards.
Thank you very much.
So number 16 in our agenda, report from closed session. So council discussed 3 items related to section 239(2)B and provided staff direction. And go ahead. Okay. And then mover and seconder. I don't need one for that. Okay. Confirming bylaw number 17.
That bylaw 2023-96, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on October 26, 2023, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and a seconder. Counselor Denning. Counselor Navakis. A vote on all in favor. That is so carried. Number 18, adjournment.
That the council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 5:51 PM to meet again at 4 o'clock on Thursday, November 9th, 2023 at 4 o'clock PM or at the call of the chair.
Mover and a seconder. Counselor Navakis, Counselor Statham. All in favor? So moved. We'll see you again in November.